So, am I not much better to look at now?
It looks like you're wearing a mop. How your hair's grown so quickly in the last few weeks?
My hair has grown a hell of a lot, actually. Yes, you are quite right. I've got to coif it. I need to sort of do the side and do this with it and get like a thing going on.
This is Sheer Isolation. It's presented by Kieran Moore in Trowbridge and John Ponting in Cricklade.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Sheer Isolation. I am John Ponting in Cricklade, and Kieran is in Trowbridge in front of a rather impressive piece of artwork. It's lovely, Kieran.
It's an original Sam Lindup. Sam Lindup is a visual artist from Trowbridge. He's a magnificent human being.
And the fact you've got a new camera as well, it makes everything look so much clearer.
It's a built-in camera, John. This is a Dell. I really like Dell laptops. I've never had a problem with Dells. And this is like literally i7 processor and has 16 gigabytes of RAM. I thought, I'm not messing around. We're going to get the big stuff. So that's 8 gigabytes more than I've ever had in any other laptop ever.
Wow. The purpose of this show is to highlight and promote the local music and art scene across the west of England. And we're going to play a couple of tunes, and we always have a guest on. I've been looking forward to this guest for about 2 years. Somebody we've always wanted to talk to, but we've never got around to it. It's Kieran himself. We're going to chat to Kieran in this episode about who he is and what he does.
The timing on this has been chosen purposefully because there's lots going on, so I can get to talk all about myself.
There always is lots going on with you, though, always. Let's start off with our usual question. Have you been to any gigs in the last week or so?
I have, John. In fact, I've been to 2. So I went to Frank Turner at the O2 Academy in Bristol. And then on Tuesday, that was last Thursday, and Tuesday just gone, I went to Cave In at the Exchange in Bristol. And there was a common theme between these 2 shows in the sense that neither of them were too loud. And I don't know how many big gigs you've been to recently, John, but I've been going to big gigs for many years, as much as I loathe massive gigs or even just anything over 500 cap, really. But they all tend to be too loud. Like you need to wear plugs. You wear plugs, it sounds great. You take your plugs out and everything's so loud you can't really hear anything and it's all a bit both gigs were a really good volume. You know, I can stand next to the person I'm with. I can say, "Oh, did you see that? That was great." And they can hear me, and we're not having to shout at each other. And afterwards, your ears don't ring, and you can hear every element of the sound. And I don't know if it's a new trend to turn shit down. I don't know, but I'm loving the quieter gigs.
Gigs are certainly getting quieter. I'm going to blame health and safety for this and have it setting decibel levels in which I'm sure you're well aware of, and I'm sure you've got one of those little funky microphones that measures your decibel levels.
And obviously there's a happy medium, and there is always, you do need to be loud to get the power and the message and the vibe, but it doesn't need to be so loud you can't hear things. So there definitely is a good way of balancing it.
Shall we crack on with the first track?
You picked a track this week, haven't you, John?
Makes a change, doesn't it? Yeah. I've gone with a new tune by Billy Nomates. Now, she is Bristol-based. I've heard her on the radio a fair bit, and I've also seen her live. She was at the Forwards Festival this year. And Billy Nomates by name, Billy Nomates by nature. The stage was completely blacked out, no backing, no equipment. It was her and a little box with a laptop on it, just playing her tracks, singing, dancing. How brave must you be to be on a massive stage just by yourself, purposefully blacked out stage, dancing and singing to your songs for like 40 odd minutes. That's
impressive. She's just done Later with Jules Holland, John, and the video they shared online has already racked up 12,000 views in 4 days. I mean, that's impressive.
She's definitely going places. So the one I don't know if it's a track you're looking at there, and I was going to play Balance Is Gone, which is her new one.
Balance Is Gone is on there. I'm looking forward to this. It looks a psychedelic clown. If you're afraid of clowns, don't watch it.
My inner piece is broken into 5. I meditate, but I am not alive. The balance is gone. The balance is gone. Slip away and say that I've arrived. The balance is gone. The balance is gone. But everything is happening without me. And now I hear the experts in the room. The balance is gone. The balance is gone. Saying things
that track is Billy Nomates. It's called Balance Is Gone. The album is called Cacti, which is out now.
Chlorophobia. It's a fear of clowns.
Every day's a school day, isn't it?
Every day's a school day. I love clowns.
I was going to say something about Billy. Yeah, as I said, she's been on Jules Holland, as you mentioned. She's been on the radio.
Yeah.
She is in Bristol. I think she lives in Totterdown or that area of Bristol. So she's she classifies as a local act as far as I'm concerned. That's why she's getting played on the show.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's too big for us now. Come play in Trowbridge.
You can always drop her a line, can't you?
I can always drop her a line. I'll look her up.
Have you got any product placement this week, Kieran?
I do. Wait there. Oh, this is so exciting. I have the brand new album from American metalers, Cave In. Look at this. Gatefold vinyl. So they played in Bristol, as I said earlier, on Tuesday. And I've been trying to order this record via Sound Knowledge in Marlborough, like my favourite record shop. And they just haven't been able to get it in, or they've just not responding to my messages. But it's come out on this gorgeous deep blue vinyl. I haven't actually listened to this record yet on vinyl. I've just been streaming it. But I gave in, John. I finally got Spotify. Can you believe that?
That looks like a substantial bit of packaging that bit of vinyl's in.
It is. You know what? The classic, in my opinion, the classic way to release a record, right, is gatefold sleeve, single vinyl. But this is gatefold sleeve, double vinyl. And I am not a huge fan of double vinyl. For starters, it's twice the price to the consumer. A lot of people say, oh, the thicker grooves, you can get bassier sounds. I don't believe any of that. I'm not entirely sure that it's true. I think a lot of audiophiles make all that crap up. But anyway, if they would like to repress it on a single vinyl, I'll trade you.
And what kind of sound is that?
That they're metal bands. I say metal. That's a really generous term because I got into them when they weren't doing metal, and then they progressively got heavier again, and I still like them. But it is metal, I guess. But I don't. It's not. It's just space rock, really. Space rock. If you're into Hawkwind, then you'll probably quite like Cave In.
Space rock. I just went to the completely wrong end of the terminology of what space rock is, and I was like, oh yeah, space rock, meteors and stuff. That's where my brain's going today. I don't know why.
Fair enough.
Okay, this point of the show is where we'd like to talk to our guest of the week, and this week I'm very happy that I just get to talk to Kieran, because in all 111 episodes, we've never actually sat down and properly had a chat to you, Kieran.
Some of the stuff I'm going to say, people already know. So, but nevertheless, we'll do it. We'll get it down in video format so that when I die, people can press play and look back at my goofy face talking crap. So let's do it.
Which was the whole reason we set this up in the first place, wasn't it? What brought you into music? Were you already into music from college?
I was into music, but in sort of 2000, I had my son. He was in gestation. He was born in 2001. So actually, I wasn't able to immediately follow my love of music into music. Didn't actually get into doing live events until 2004. And I was working as a postman. And so one of the things, you do, you get up early, you finish your round, you go home, you got the rest of the day free. I was working with a guy called Carl. So if you're into your early noughties metal in Wiltshire, especially over in Trowbridge at Terry's and all those kind of venues, you will have known of a band called Minion Race and a guy called Carl, who was the guitarist in Minion Race. So Carl was a postie as well. And he said to me, Kieran, you should put on your own gig. You love music. I love music. You should put on your own gig. And I said, don't be ridiculous, mate. Don't be ridiculous. That's just crazy. He said, no, seriously, do it. So we went to Light and Sound and Devisors and we saw Ian James. And I said to Ian, I've never done this before, but could you hire me a PA? He said, yeah, sure. That'd be like 150 quid for a PA for the night. I said, cheers, mate. I went to previous guest, Pete Lamb, and I said, hi, Pete. Pete didn't know me from Adam. I said, hi, Pete. Could I borrow some microphones, please? He said, here you go, mate. Here's two SM58s. I said, thank you. And then I went to Devices Football Club down Nursteed Road, and I said to the owner there, who happened to be the dad of a local lad who's in a band, I say, look, can I use the venue? And he said, of course you can, crack on. So we did our first gig, and I booked Minion Race, and I booked a band called Quarter Blind, who also, if you're into your metal in that era, you'd have known Quarter Blind because they were in Kerrang, etc. So we did this gig, and 300 kids turned up. They all paid £3 each, but I still walked away with, I don't know, 700 quid in profit. And I think at that first gig, I instantly was like, this is cool. I think I might like to do this again. So that's how I started. And there was a guy called Matt Corbett, who is the younger brother of one of my best friends from school, a guy called Ollie Corbett, his younger brother, who was at sixth form. We said to Matt, could you hand out some flyers, please, in sixth form for us? And we gave him these flyers and said, crack on, please do your best. And it was solely down to him getting all of the Devisers kids, the friends of the Metalhead band, and the Lavington kids who came because of the support bands. We had literally 3 groups of music fans all came together, and we literally had 300 of them, and it was just the best thing I ever did. It was just sensational. So that's how I got into it, purely on a whim, purely sort of almost begrudgingly, like against my will. But it changed my life.
Gigs later, and 20 years on, you're still doing it, and you although I suppose you've had some very impressive gigs, some very impressive names on there. You haven't grown to the point that you're working with A-lists every night. You're still supporting the local acts and the local venues.
I mean, in some ways, I never really chased it because you work at a certain level. And a good example was when Frank Turner played the Forum. Like, there was so much to do with that show that was big show stresses and problems, which I don't really enjoy. What I really like is a venue with a roof on it, ideally 500 cap, sort of 400 or 500 cap, nice roof, good people, no bullshit from managers or agents or whatever, no egos, just people having a good time together. And I think that's, if you can get that right, that's perfection. And I'd like to think for the best part of 20 years, I've been getting that right.
And you've also got the consistency because, as you say, it's been 20 years. You haven't moved away from the middle of Wiltshire. You know all the venues around there. You know all the people. You've got a Rolodex full of literally decades of contacts that you can pull from. And you've really got a memory for bands and people who've been in bands and swap bands. I don't know how you remember it all.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, the consistency thing, because it breeds people's own confidence and belief that they can do X, Y, Z. And we've had some amazing success stories that have come from our shows in Devisers. And that's not to say that we are responsible for that band's or that artist's success, but we played a part in the early days. A really good example is Jed Elliott, who is in a band called The Struts. So he was in 3 or 4 really high-profile pop-punk bands from this area that used to sell out all the local venues, left, right, and centre. And they toured the UK, blah, blah, blah. And one day he got poached by The Struts to go play bass for them. And the rest is history. You know, he started dating a Little Mix. He now lives in America. He's now married to an actress. All came from playing the Bell by the Green in Devisers or the Corn Exchange in Devisers. You know, that's the reality of it. Bite the Buffalo went and toured America and had a week's residency at the Viper Rooms. They now have released multiple successful albums and they play all the major festivals. You know, they're a great band. We had some DJs, Tim Smith and Luke Sutton, who went on to, in part, form Crack Magazine. They had a session on Kiss FM. All of these things happen as a direct result of what's going on in Devisers. There was a YouTube star called Chip Daddy, who again, he then started, he had an MTV contract and he was doing backstage interviews at festivals and doing interviews and so on with artists. Like, it all came from this really productive time in our scene, in our community. So yeah, and consistency plays a massive role in that.
As well as just putting on venues, you've also been in charge of a fair few venues in your time. And at the moment, you've got the Pump Rooms in Trowbridge, which I know you've been spent a lot of time renovating. And before that, obviously, you've been doing stuff with Chippenham and Trowbridge Town Halls as well. You're moving on to stuff in Bath as well. Where does it end?
So it ends when I move to Canada. My wife is currently looking at moving to Canada, and it is incredibly appealing. And so I think I've got a couple of years now to really achieve a few of my dreams, and then I'm going to disappear off and you'll never see me again.
Wow. Oh, that's an exclusive there, isn't it? Kieran, where did the name Sheer Music come from?
From a pair of tights. I saw this t-shirt or a pair of tights that said sheer on them, and obviously I just thought of the concept of something that's sheer. Normally it's like, oh, the sheer size of something or the sheer scope of something. I thought sheer music, it kind of encompasses everything. And our first gig we did when we did the metal gig was called something like Wild Stallions from Bill and Ted, and we very quickly changed it to sheer music. And I remember this really old geezer in Devices at the Pub by the Green said, "That's a good strong name, you should keep that." I said, all right, then I will, and I have ever since. So
I'm so glad that answer has lived up to its expectations, because I was worried about asking that question.
Okay, no, that was
Answer.
why.
That was a great answer.
But true story, absolutely
again,
true story.
Going back to the consistency, you've kept with the sheer music brand, and although you wouldn't class yourself to be like a big, you're not in it as a business, the sheer music name is still there and it's ticking over, and it's making itself pay.
I mean, I can now. I'm in a point where I can go to agencies and say like sheer music, and they'll be aware of who we are. Some more than others, but and we have a sort of. I know a lot of these agencies have like a spreadsheet, and it will say XYZ venues and XYZ artists and how many support fans they brought and how many. I know there are these lists, and I know I'm on these lists. And sometimes some of the gigs we do, like we'll get offered something and we'll give it a go, and nobody will come and sell 20 tickets. And you think, oh, and then sometimes you'll sell out a show and it'll be really busy. And so I've always taken risks. I've never sat by and just done stuff that's like you can sort of follow the money, and you can go, right, I'm going to just put on a bunch of tribute bands and make a little stack of cash, and then and invest it. But I don't do that. I've only ever done original music that I've been passionate about. So sometimes we're not high up on the list of priorities with some agencies, simply because our gigs aren't necessarily always full, but they are always done for the right reasons, because it's original music and with passion. So
you've got your credentials, you've got your kind of non-movement items, that you're not going to put on anything, because you know the scene better than anybody else. You know which gigs will work and which ones don't. It's fine to have a little experiment now and then. But there are some things you can look at and you think that would definitely never work in Wiltshire ever.
Well, you say that. I have done that before. I've gone, that will never work, but I'm going to do it anyway because I really want to give it a try. So a really good example of that would be, we've got this, I think he calls himself a twisted rave artist. He's an American chap from Portland, Oregon, and he goes by the name of Problems ? And he's done a concept album based on dogs. And musically it's just insane, but he's on tour in the UK. He's desperately looking for some venues. He's dead cheap. I was like, let's just have some fun and see what happens. We get to hang out with this American for the night. He's big guy, big beard, big personality. I think it could be fun. So I've taken an absolute risk, even though I don't think it necessarily mass appeals, but I think it would be fun. So, and that's ultimately what we're doing it for, right?
What do you think is going to happen? But before you move to Canada and we never see you again, what's going to happen between now and Canada?
Well, I've just got a new job, John. So this is not been it's kind of public, but there's not been any official announcement as of yet. But from November the 28th, I am the joint head tech of the Comedia in Bath. So their previous head tech was a guy called Joe. Joe has left. Joe Noonan. He's gone to be a freelance tech full time. And they had a young lad called Levi, and Levi had been doing it for 3 months, and he knocked all expectations out of the park. And they said, "Look, Kieran, could we meet you face to face and like show you to some of the team, etc." I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So I arranged to meet them on the Monday, and then I had to cancel it because I had family pressures. And so instead I said, "Look, guys, you're going to MVT, the Music Venue Trust Day, on Tuesday. How about I meet you in London and we have a chat then during this event?" So yeah, no worries, that's great. So I turn up to the MVT on Tuesday. I get there really early, meet them. They said, "Let's go outside. Let's go chat out in the garden." I think, yeah, no worries. We go outside, and we're stood around all these tombstones, like chatting away. And they say to me, "Look, Kieran, what we would really love is if you could do it joint job with Levi. How would you feel about that?" And just as I was about to say, "Yeah, that sounds great," Frank Turner walks past on the phone. He goes, "Oh, 1 minute." Kieran gives me a big hug. I'm like, "All right, Frank, how's it going? Yeah, I'm going to see you on stage in 10 minutes." Like chat. Literally in the middle of this sort of interview. Anyway, we sort of say, we catch up. We say, "See you in a minute." Off he goes. And then Adrian from Comedia goes, "Who was that?" And I said, that's Frank Turner. He goes, "What? No way, Frank! Hello, Frank." So I think that pretty much made them feel like they were going to a safe pair of hands. So
and how much had you paid Frank Turner to do that?
I guilt tripped him because I was on his guest list on the week before, for the Thursday before, for Bristol, and I didn't get to see anyone. Unfortunately, I was very very sad about that. So I said, I'm really sorry I didn't get to see you, mate, but maybe I'll see you on Tuesday. And then he happened to be there outside, and he just saw me and came over. Just delighted, really. He's such a nice guy. I know he gets a hard time from a lot of people, but he's very genuine and he never forgets anyone.
He's very hardworking, isn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, look, we're already out of time on this. We could easily talk for hours and hours and hours, but it does go quick, doesn't it? Normally we get our guests to pick a particular track, but you pick tracks week on week on week on. So it's no different, really. So I'll just say to you, what's your track of the week, Kieran?
So the track of the week, it's one of my boys, one of my bros. It's a band that I love very much, a group of people that I love very much, and it's NervEndings. They're from Swindon officially now, and this is their proper. They've got 2 videos. This is the one that's had all the bells and whistles and time and effort and money thrown at it, and this is a song called "Toxic and Other Love Stories." And it's just a great video, filmed and produced by Claire Sutton, previous guest on the show.
So that track is called NervEndings. You say the song is Toxic and Other Love Stories.
Correct.
Okay.
Big rock riff number.
Lovely job. Do you have any news you want to talk about, Kieran, this week? I know you've already talked about your personal news. Any other news in the world?
Yes. So the Village Pump is applying for the Future High Street Fund money available in Trowbridge, with the intention of moving the pump from its current location into the town centre. So we're currently looking at whether that's possible, and what it would look like and what it would be. So if we can achieve that, that would be really significant for Trowbridge. And I think it's part of all the wonderful things that happen in Trowbridge. It really is an exciting town. So we're just trying to continue to grow, really. The pump itself is doing exceptionally well. We've got good turnouts, good appeal, lots of interest. And we've also got a group of people now that seem to be centered around it. Some of them are, getting life skills and developing. Some of them are trainee techs or whatever. We've got a real community growing around it. And so it seems now is the correct time to grow it out of its current location.
Perfect. Great. Well, we look forward to
Not guaranteed to happen, but
well, good luck on the grant money. I mean, these opportunities do pop up now and then, so you've got to try it when the money's available, haven't you? Because as we know, the money's not there that often at the moment. So if there is an opportunity,
quite right.
Go for it. A bit of news from over this part of the county. Although it's not 2023 yet, Minty has already started to announce its headliners and its bands for next year. So
nice.
On the local level, they've got Gaz Brookfield and his band. And
cool.
On the national level, they've got EMF, the band that did You're Unbelievable.
Yeah, because I wrote underneath Rich Swatton's post, I wrote unbelievable, full stop.
Me too.
Brilliant.
Similar minds. Oh, it's just because we're really good at dad gags, that's all it is. Minty will be happening next summer. I won't bother with the date checks. It's still like 9 months away in North Wiltshire. But yeah, it seems a bit early to be announcing next year's gigs. Have any other festivals been doing that, Kieran, that you're aware of? 2000
Trees have announced their Wednesday lineup. So there's a bunch of artists on there worth checking out.
We should probably wrap this up because we're running out of time on the Zoom and we've already been talking plenty. So nothing else.
Absolute pleasure, John. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, cool. If anyone wants to find out more information, shareisolation@gmail.com or the website shareisolation.co.uk where you can find previous shows or go on to streaming services. Yes, Kieran, thank you for joining me. It's been lovely to see you after a couple of weeks off.
And I'll be seeing you very soon.
We will do indeed, yes. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back same time next week. Ciao.
Ciao.